Welcome to 90.7 FM, where we give you straight facts. It's Imani,
And it's Emily.
giving you the throwbacks.
Do you remember that hot song that came out a couple years ago, maybe in 1786?
Yeah, let's talk about those good times.
Let's start with the background of that huge hit, Shays Rebellion. The artist Shays was a farmer and a former soldier who fought at Bunker Hill.
You mean the Bunker Hill battle in the American Revolution?
Yes, I mean the Bunker Hill battle in the American Revolution. What other Bunker Hill battle is there? The rebellion consisted of multiple violent attacks on government-owned buildings in Massachusetts. One cause of this rebellion was that the farmers who fought in the Revolutionary War were struggling with money. This is because they basically took out a loan to pay for anything that they needed to pay. Eventually, they were in so much debt from the loans that they could not pay it back. As a result of this, Boston authorities began to arrest the farmers. Another cause of this rebellion was that the residents in Massachusetts were expected to pay higher taxes to Britain to assure that Governor James Bowdoin's assistants paid back his investments.
Bowdings?
Bowdoin, Imani, get it right. In the beginning of the rebellion, the farmers initially took the peaceful route, but it did not work. Then they started to think that this way was not helpful at all, so they took the violent route instead.
What about nonviolence protests?
Imani, that was Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, go back a little bit. An example of this happened in Northampton, where Captain Joseph Hines forced several hundred men to block the doors of the courthouse so that the judges could not enter the building. In January of 1787, Shays attacked the Springfield Arsenal along with his 1,200 men who raided the field.
That must have been a lot of men.
Indeed, Imani, it must have been a lot of men. They attacked the arsenal because they wanted to take the weapons. Some of them were armed, but the authorities at the arsenal fired a couple shots, killing some of Shays' men. And when the attack on Springfield Arsenal was over, Shays and his wife fled to Vermont. Eventually, Shays died in 1825. Rest in peace, Mr. Daniel Shays.
R.I.P.
His memorial is by Daniel Shays Highway in Western Massachusetts.
Okay, so another hit song, which is one of my favorites, is Whiskey's Rebellion of 1794.
Oh my gosh, I love that one too.
Yeah, so let me tell you what made it such a great hit. The farmers and alcohol distributors of western Pennsylvania were in protest of the tax on whiskey. After the American Revolution, the states accumulated a whole lot of debt.
So, how much debt are we talking here?
Too much to even possibly keep track of. Therefore, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton decided to put a tax on America's favorite drink, whiskey, in order to pay back their debt. In 1791, the whiskey tax was implemented.
So wait. What I'm learning here is that they're just taxing everything to tax it, right?
I guess, the people living on the frontier think that. Consequently, the small producers living in the western frontier thought that this was a major disadvantage. They felt that the taxes did not support their living circumstances because of their proximity to the Native American villages. As a result, the people rebelled against the tax. Some refused to pay the tax, but others threatened the lives of the tax officers. One example of them trying to sway the officers to their side is the infamous Tar and Feather event. Eventually, the rebellion got out of hand. Fast forward to July 1794. 400 rebellions burnt down the house of tax supervisor John Neville in Pittsburgh. Hamilton and President Washington had had enough of the rebels' mischievous ways. To demonstrate their frustration, President Washington himself sent a troop to the western frontiers of Pennsylvania to stop the rebels.
Oh, he big man?
I guess he's big man. Of the 400, only 150 rebels were captured, and 2 were tried for treason. Those that were tried were only John Mitchell and Philip Weigel, but Washington pardoned their actions. In the next presidency of 1802, Jefferson canceled the tax altogether. The rebels could finally have their whiskey back.
Wait, but what about the prohibition on alcohol in the 1900s?
Well, I guess they don't know what's coming for them. Overall, these hits influence Americans to express their right of the First Amendment, freedom of expression.
Also, the rebels displayed principles of the social contract theory. If you don't like the way of the government, then change it.
That's all we have for this segment. Thanks for listening.